bring in now Congressman Leonard Lance, Republican from New Jersey. And Congressman, we're talking about sanctions here. You've just introduced a bill, right, to actually boost sanctions against Iran. Tell me about that.
That's correct. It boosts sanctions against Iran. Hallie, I've introduced this with several colleagues on the Republican side in the House, and it targets those individuals who would be helpful to Iran in its ballistic missile program. As you know, the ballistic missile program is in violation of a UN resolution, and under no circumstances should Iran be engaged in this type of activity.
Have you had a chance, Congressman, to take a look at these new Treasury sanctions against Iran? Have you been consulted on it by the administration?
I have not, but I presume, without having read what's in the text, that I would be supportive, and I certainly commend the administration for moving forward. Obviously, I want to read the text, but that text will be made available at 10:30 by the Treasury Department.
Have you had consultations with the administration about your position on Iran, about your new bill? I'm just trying to get a sense of what the interactions are regarding foreign policy now between sort of the West Wing and Capitol Hill.
I think there is coordination, and I'm particularly pleased that Senator Corker, for example, has been in the White House on several occasions as the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, and I believe there will be better coordination now that President Trump is in office. And as you know, we placed a sanctions bill on President Obama's desk in December. That bill became law without the president's signature, and I think under President Trump we're moving in a direction that is more coordinated.
You know, Congressman, it's interesting. One of my colleagues, I don't know if you were able to listen in just before the break, Ali Velshi mentioned that he was speaking with a contact in Iran who said that hardliners there have been looking for a reason or trying to sort of foment agitation against the United States, and that Donald Trump has effectively done that for them. Are you concerned about fallout in Iran when it comes to these sanctions, when it comes to the stance that the administration is taking against Iran?
On the contrary, I think that we have to be as tough as possible regarding Iran, because it has violated the ballistic agreement, the UN resolution, and I think it's in violation of the underlying agreement that was struck by the Obama administration, and I do not think our policy should be dependent on what hardliners in Iran may think or do.
Now, the UN hasn't said that, in fact, Iran did violate these terms. Is the U.S. getting ahead of itself a little bit here? Are you concerned about that?
No, not at all. I think that we have to be as vigorous as possible, and there is bipartisan support here on Capitol Hill in that regard, and that's why the legislation passed in December by an overwhelming. This is not a partisan matter, Hallie. I think there is general agreement here on Capitol Hill that we have to be vigilant in this regard.
Of course, House Speaker Paul Ryan coming out in favor of this as well, Congressman. I want to talk about something else while we're on the topic of foreign policy. You are the co-chair of the Republican Caucus on Israel, so I want to get your reaction to the statement that has been put out by the White House on settlements. I'll pull it up here. While we don't believe the existence of settlements is an impediment to peace, the construction of new settlements or the expansion of existing settlements beyond their current borders may not be helpful in achieving that goal. Do you agree? What's your take?
I think that this will be discussed by the President and the Prime Minister when the two meet later this month, and certainly I think that we have to be cautious in this regard, but this is a decision ultimately to be made by Israel. But I respect the statement that has been put out by the administration, and it recognizes that the administration is moving in a direction based upon historically what has been the position of the United States. We all want peace in the Middle East, but that requires, of course, the recognition by the Palestinians that Israel has a right to exist in peace and freedom, and the right to exist as a Jewish state.
And are you comfortable with Jared Kushner's role in the discussions of peace with Israel, the way that that has developed?
I believe that Jared Kushner is an extremely able person, and I'm pleased that he's involved in the administration, and I think that he will be a force of reason and competence in the administration. The Kushner family comes from New Jersey, and I think that it's appropriate for the President to rely on a series of advisors, including Jared Kushner.
Congressman Leonard Lance from New Jersey, thank you very much for joining us here and for that perspective on what has turned into a pretty busy breaking news morning. Thank you.